Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today I'm answering more of Instagram's muzzleloading questions. First up here, what is your recommended way to get started in the craft? I think universally, regardless of your budget or your area of interest, you can start building your research library. Start investing in books and first-hand documentation where it's accessible to start reading and learning up on whichever aspect of the muzzleloading craft and its associated crafts that you're interested in. It's a really easy way to get started for like 20 bucks a time, you know. You can pick up a few good books starting at that price range, and they really go up from there. But the more you research, the more you're going to understand once you're able to get into and start buying supplies and start working on things. You're going to know more of what you want to make, what you want to build, and it's going to be a little more accurate if that's what you want to go for. I personally think that research is super important and can oftentimes be left a little bit to the wayside as we get excited about getting out and burning powder and going camping and making things. So it's always good to have some books on your library, especially for the cold winter months when you're, maybe stuck inside and need something to do. Research is a great thing to do to broaden your horizons. From there, I really recommend that folks get started with a cheaper muzzleloader kit. Right now, the predominant cheap kit out there, or the affordable kit out there, is going to be from Traditions. They have a variety of Hawken-esque muzzleloaders, as well as a couple pistol models. I recommend getting started with an affordable kit because you can build an understanding of your muzzleloader. If it's your first muzzleloader, you're going to come out of that kit building process with a ton of great insights into how that muzzleloader works, how it functions, how it's put together. From there, you can then kind of expand, I think, and build your own kit around your first muzzleloader kit, building your first accoutrements bag, your first shooting pouch, we'll say, and your first powder horn from there. It's going to give you, again, a deeper understanding of what people went through before, a couple hundred years ago when people were making their own items. And it's also going to give you a real kind of crash course, I think, in just about everything involved with muzzleloading, because you're going to be hands-on with it from start to finish. I try to reiterate this a lot, though. Your first kit, your first set of gear is not going to be perfect, and that's okay. You need to start somewhere, and that first introductory kit and the accoutrements that you make or purchase for it are going to get you going, and it's going to get you out having fun with a lot of great people in the community. Wondering if you have any word on InvestArms kits landing in North America? I want to do a kit soon. I don't really have any insight on when boats are going to be landing. Through the conversations I've had with folks at Traditions and muzzleloaders.com, it's a little bit of a grab bag right now on when they get a container of things and what's in that container. To my understanding, things in Europe still are fluctuating with supply chain and logistics issues, much like we're seeing here in the United States. But if we're able to see a similar trajectory as previous years, I think you're going to start seeing kits in soon as we head towards April and May and really the summer months. Typically, we see a shipment of kits from most of the manufacturers within the next 1 or 2 months. Don't hold me to that. Like I said, things are a little crazy right now, but that's when I expect to see some more kits in the States. In Last of the Mohicans, Hawkeye says silk patches give additional range. What are your thoughts? That's really just Hollywood BS, guys. I mean, that's all it is, The rest of the movie's really cool. There's some Farby stuff in there. But really the silk patch thing, I don't know where they got that or why. Maybe that's something we can do this summer and do some tests with. But yeah, that's just BS. What are your possibles bag essentials? I like to keep it really simple. You'll see a lot of folks out at the range with 3 or 4 bags packed to the brim. They're carrying 20, 30 pounds of stuff. Maybe that's exaggerating a little bit, really, but I like to keep my bags pretty simple. I'm not going out for multiple months or weeks at a time. I'm usually, less than a mile from my car where I have a crate full of tools and things that I need. So in my shooting pouch, I will typically carry some balls, patches, powder measure. The Chambers multi-tool I really like. Has a napping hammer, screwdriver, vent pick, and a couple of ramrod ends. And from there, I also carry my short starter, my priming horn, and my powder horn. In my possibles bag, which I really consider kind of an auxiliary pouch, I'll have a set of really period pliers that I picked up, which are pretty handy. A couple other tools, some spare flints, I'll carry my flint wall. I'll carry my flint wallet with 3 or 4 extra flints, my ramrod jags, and a period screwdriver. And really for a flintlock, that gets me everything that I need. I can tear down and work on something if I need to. I can replace something that, may go wrong. After the Cabin Fever Challenge this year, I realized I needed to carry a few more flints and a little bit of extra flint leather for the jaws in my flintlock. So that's something else I'm going to be adding to my kit. But other than that, I don't carry a whole lot. If I'm going out to a camp or a trek or something, I'll bring a more traditional backpack with some of the camping gear that's needed for that. But as far as possibles bags go, I really recommend that folks keep it as simple as you can. Why is it so hard to find original guns that are fireable? We're really past the age now where people are discovering these original pieces. Over the course of the 1900s there, a lot of them were found. I would really dare say most of them probably. We don't really have any documentation, I guess, to support that. But most original pieces now are going to be in collections, and it's hard to find original pieces, especially those that are fireable or operable, is because you have to wait for that collection to cycle. Not to be morbid about it, but these collections usually aren't broken up until the original collector passes away. And even then, some of the pieces might leave the collection, or commonly the collection is passed down to a group of family members, and the public, those of us out here that might be looking for original pieces don't really have an opportunity at large scale to rediscover some of these pieces and add them to our own collections. Now, I will say though, through watching several of at least the American auction houses here over the past couple of years, there are quite a few original pieces that go through there that are operable and do go for an affordable price. They're not going to be, the premier pieces of the, the gold standard, of kind of the Kindig collection, you might say. But they are going to be original pieces with some historic significance that, if you take care of them, you check them out, they're going to be good to go for, an affordable price. Affordable, I think, really meaning less than like 10 grand, for somebody, maybe if you're a similar age to me or have similar interests. I've seen quite a few pieces go through at the Rock Island Auction Company for less than I paid for my car. That are nice, and it would make a fine addition to anybody's collection looking for an original piece. So that's something to consider. Keep an eye on some of those auction houses. You might find the kind of thing that you're looking for. 50 caliber conical or 54 patched round ball for elk out to 100 yards, trying to decide between the Lyman Great Plains rifle or Great Plains Hunter. I've never hunted elk, so I can't say, with any definitive authority. I will say, though, that it seems to me that over the years, plenty of elk have been killed with both a 54 caliber patch round ball and a 50 caliber conical. At 100 yards, though, I think most contemporary marksmen are going to tell you to go for that conical. Just in terms of accuracy out to that distance. But if you're shooting the conical or the round ball at 100 yards, you're going to lose a lot of velocity. So I really encourage you to do some testing on your own as far as the penetration goes, to make sure that you're taking an ethical shot and one that's going to bring the animal down. As always, you want to make sure before you go out for a hunt with your muzzleloader that you know that rifle in and out. You know how it's going to perform in any condition that you can possibly test, and you know that you can place that shot where it's needed. Which do you prefer, Flintlock or Percussion cap? I don't really have a favorite. I think there are truly wonderful versions of both. When we get into the 1800s and you get to the advent of the percussion cap, you really get into what I consider the beginning of modern marksmanship and modern shooting sports, especially when you get into the shoots and rifles and things. I just love that segment of muzzleloading and shooting sports culture. But it's hard to beat the allure and the mystique of the flintlock and the time periods that it represents and it was popular in. What's a good place to get an over-the-shoulder American-made muzzleloader bag? I have a lot of friends in the contemporary accoutrement space. I can't really name them all, but I try to mention and share their information in the stories that I share on Instagram, as well as at ilovemuzzleloading.com. Be sure to check those out. Apart from that, I really recommend that you try to get started or try to get into when you're able to in a one-of-a-kind artist-made bag. A good place to look is at the CLA show or at longrifle.com from the CLA. They list artist works through the year. You can also check out the American Long Rifles forum for a variety of bags for sale from contemporary makers that are really making artful bags. I'll also say that bags are very personal, so take some time, shop around, find the one that works for you and fits you and your style. You're gonna love it forever. You just gotta be a little patient. Do you recommend pre-measured black powder pellets over loading in the field? I understand the convenience of black powder pellets, being able to just drop 1 or 2 or 3, I guess, into the barrel of your muzzleloader and go on your way. In terms of hunting, I can see the speed and efficiency there, but really for me, I've never had a use for it. I've always had good access to true black powder, powder. So I personally don't really see the necessity for myself to use the pellets, but I understand their use and practicality in hunting. I will say though that the pellets are often dirtier than you're going to find even the powdered black powder substitutes. So you can find it to be a little bit tougher to clean your bore. Because they are produced in mass, there are going to be some inconsistencies there. I don't know that anybody claims that their pellets are exactly the measurement that they're advertised. I'm sure that there is a little bit of one way or the other there. If you're looking for an alternative to those pre-measured pellets, there are a variety of charge tubes that you can purchase from retailers all over the US. And you can pre-measure your black powder charges before you go to the range or go on a hunt. It's going to give you the similar speed of a black powder substitute pellet, but it's going to be, the powder, it's going to burn a little bit cleaner, and I think you're going to enjoy it more. Are those Italian black powder guns worth it? Examples, Lyman, Investarms, Pedersoli. I really think so. You're not going to find a muzzleloader in that price range really that isn't Italian or Spanish made. All of them that I've had my hands on and that my friends have used for many years now, really no complaints in terms of accuracy and performance on them. You do get what you pay for. I mean, it's not going to be the same as getting into a custom muzzleloader here, made by an original maker here in the States. But it's going to be a great place to get started and get into something that you might not otherwise be able to find. A lot of these Italian makers are reproducing historic arms, a lot of military arms from all eras, and it's hard to find somebody reproducing those one at a time, apart from those that we see imported from Italy there. So I'm a fan. There's people out there might not be. I have heard reports of some variances in fit and finish, which you're going to see in every production muzzleloader out there. So it's not really particular to the Italian muzzleloaders that are out there. But your mileage may vary. You might have had a different experience. If you have, let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on a few more of these over the next summer here and get them out and testing them and showing them, kind of what they're all about. Top 5 or 10 YouTube accounts to follow for newbies. Now, I cannot remember all of these off the top of my head, so I'm going to read them off here in no particular order. Black Powder TV, B. Kaufman, Muzzleloaders.com, Duelist 1954, The Black Powder Maniac, Grumpy Gunsmith of Williamsburg, The Frontier Trading Company, British Muzzleloaders, Hoffman Reproductions, Traditional Muzzleloader, Horn and Fiber, The Squirrel Tail, Ramshackle Homestead and Survival, Folk Firearms Collective, Paper Cartridges, and Old Iron Cabin. All of these folks are doing, I think, fantastic work in all aspects of muzzleloading, from muzzleloading shooting sports to the traditional crafts associated with muzzleloaders. I really encourage you to check them out. I'll try to have links to everyone in the description below. Best places in person or online to find raw horns to start a powder horn project. If you're looking to order online, I have a big list at ilovemuzzleloading.com. I'll have a link in the description to several online retailers. Apart from that though, especially as we're heading into spring and summer and the event season picking up, most of your muzzleloading events with a little bit of the historic, traditional craft side of things are going to have somebody selling some horns. That's going to be an easy way to go look at horns, get your hands on them, and see if it's really what you want before you purchase, and it's going to be an affordable price. Apart from that, I encourage you to check out the Honorable Company of Horners at hornguild.org. They have a lot of great resources for somebody learning how to make their own powder horn, or any other horn good, really. I've got a 58 caliber muzzleloader. How much powder should I start with to develop a load? I really recommend folks start with pretty close to the caliber of their muzzleloader in grains of powder. So if you've got a 50 caliber muzzleloader, I recommend that you start with 50 grains of powder. Since you've got a 58, you can go ahead and adjust that. You can bump that up to starting with 60 grains if you want, but I do recommend that you start a little low, even if you do have a 58. Start at 50, see how it performs as you work your way up in 5 grain increments. So I like to start with, you know, for example, with a 58 caliber, start with 50, work my way up to 55, 60, 65, 70, see where it's going. If I need more, go up from there. But if I realize that I'm starting to see a little bit of difference between 55 and 60, you know, you might step back and try 57. It's going to be down to you, what your muzzleloader can do and what you want out of it as a firearm and accuracy, you know, as how accurate you want that to be. Best movie with muzzleloaders? I'm a big fan of Last of the Mohicans. You also have The Patriot and the 2012 Revenant movie. All pretty good. I think in terms of storytelling, it's hard to beat Last of the Mohicans and the 2012 Revenant movie. No offense to The Patriot, but you know, The Revenant really changed the game, I think, for muzzleloaders in Hollywood. Is barrel cooling between shots important for accuracy in a flintlock like it is in rifle? I would say yes, if you're noticing a change in accuracy. If you're out shooting on the 4th of July and it's 110 degrees, you are probably going to see a little bit of distortion in your accuracy there. But, you know, I wouldn't worry about it too much until you got to the point where you were noticing an accuracy difference and the barrel was warm to the touch. If you're doing hard competition, you know, it might be good to let your barrel cool a little bit between relays, maybe taking a relay off here and there to let things cool down. But, you know, if you're shooting your muzzleloader that much, it's going to feel pretty warm and it's going to start to get uncomfortable. What would you recommend for a first flintlock long rifle build? There's some complaints out there when it comes to imported flintlocks, the functionality of them, and people have some issues with them. I personally haven't experienced any of that. You can step into an imported flintlock kit and get started. You know, Traditions, Lyman, Investarms, Pedersoli, and go from there. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more premier, a little more deluxe, you know, I really recommend getting started with a Kibler's flintlock kit. He has 2 options right now, but they're both super easy to put together and pretty historically accurate, and they're really comfortable. His lock performance is incredible. From there, if you're looking for a little bit more selection, I really recommend the Jim Chambers family of flintlock kits. A lot of great kits there that have been built for generations now. They're wonderful. What is your biggest regret early on as a muzzleloader? I thought about this one for a little while, and I really think for me it comes down to when I was younger worrying about the gear that I had and trying to make my gear make me a better muzzleloader, a better shooter, and a better person in the community. In reality, I think it's best to be appreciative of what you have and enjoy the time that you have to spend with your introductory gear and equipment. I think from there, I wish I would have been giving back to the community as much as I can, you know, earlier. I think all of us can look back and wish we could have done more sooner. But I'm excited to have the channel and the website here now and be talking with you. In your opinion, who is the best contemporary flintlock gun maker? There are too many great builders to say. I think you're seeing an age of long rifle builders right now that rivals the original greats myself. The quality that you're seeing put out right now out of shops all across the world is just incredible. Is a smooth bore easier to clean than rifled? Absolutely. At least the bore itself is. You're not dealing with those rifled grooves down your barrel. A lot of folks say they can just take a wet mop and shove it down the bore and it's ready to go. As far as the exterior goes, around your lock and your sights and things, that's going to be the same as a rifle. What is the best muzzleloader lube? I'm really not too partial. I use Spit Patch a lot because it's really convenient. This spring I've taken to using some RMC Oxyoke Wonder Lube on some pre-lube patches. I've also got some bear grease that I'm going to be testing out here, which I'm really excited about. So far, it's been performing really well and kind of has that classic mountain man feel, I think. Would you personally feel comfortable hunting big body bucks with a 45 caliber round ball? If I knew the rifle and I knew my limits as a marksman, absolutely. I think when we look at the history of hunting, at least east of the Mississippi, where we're not dealing with super large game, more bucks and more deer have been taken with a 45 caliber round ball than we can probably comprehend. That being said, if you're feeling nervous about it, take your muzzleloader to the range, put practice in. You cannot, you know, there's no substitute for putting rounds down range in a thoughtful manner. You know, if you're nervous about it, or if you have a hunt coming up, get 100 round balls, take them to the range, shoot 100 round balls before you go on your next hunt. You're going to be a better shot at that 100th round ball than you are at your first round ball if you're taking conscious, thoughtful shots with it. And it's going to improve your skills as a hunter. I'm sure of it. Can you shoot Pyrodex? Can you shoot Pyrodex powder out of a flintlock? Folks say that you can if you do what you call a duplex load, where you put 5 to 10 grains of real black powder down the barrel first and you top it with the rest of your charge being made out of Pyrodex. There have been some safety concerns with that over the years. I don't personally recommend it, but if you're really in a bind, that's something that you should research. But obviously, please don't do anything dangerous. You know, don't go out there hurting yourself just because you can't find powder or you need to burn up some Pyrodex. What do you do if you can't remove the barrel and lose a bore patch in it? That's really simple. All you need is a patch worm jig. It's going to screw onto the end of your ramrod. It's going to go down there, spin it around. It's going to grab that patch and pull it right out. You can order those from most of your online muzzleloading retailers, and there are a few people out there making them handmade if you want one that's super special. How does cleaning a muzzleloader compare / differ to cleaning a regular rifle? Really, for me, it just feels like it takes a little bit longer. I don't see it as this laborious chore that a lot of folks do, and it's certainly not going to prevent me from enjoying my muzzleloaders. If you take a little time, I mean, really after a range trip, 15, 20 minutes, and I'm really good to go based on, you know, because I shoot my muzzleloaders quite a bit, I'm not leaving them in the safe for 8 months out of the year. I'm going to be taking them out, dirtying them up, and cleaning them back up in a couple weeks usually. So for me, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. As long as you have some cleaning solution and your cleaning patches, it's going to take you half an hour. Don't worry about it. What is your favorite inline pistol? I mean, it's got to be the Muzzle inline pistols. Come on. I can't say anything else. I want to get a Kibler Southern Mountain Rifle, but I don't do much woodwork. Think I could put one together? I really think so. Talking with Jim and the team there at Kibler's Long Rifles, their goal is to make it so that you don't have to have any skill in terms of muzzleloader building, and you can put together one of their kits. I think they're very close to getting there. I've seen a lot of their kits being put together in person and on video, and I think as long as you do your research again firsthand, you know, watch Jim's videos, watch YouTube videos about it, see the process as it unfolds. Jim has assembled probably thousands of these by now. He knows every nook and cranny of it. But watch those videos a few times, and I really recommend watching it before you go out to work on it for the section that you're working on. So if you're working on the barrel, watch his videos on fitting the barrel, because that's going to be nice and fresh in your mind, and you're going to be able to go out there and accomplish that with that direct reference. As far as other skills go, you know, worrying about spending the money, you know, it's not cheap, but you are putting money into it, and you want to make sure you have something nice coming out of it. Just go slow, be patient, and you're going to be fine, really. Favorite wood to make a stock out of? For me, I'm really partial to cherry, like you saw on my Kibler Southern Mountain Rifle. With the advent of the emerald ash bore, I find a nice romanticism with ash stocked rifles as well as walnut. It's really hard to beat a nice curly walnut. For me, maple's fine, but once you see a few hundred curly maple rifles, you know, you kind of get it, I think. Do you have any book recommendations about flintlocks? I'm working on an article about this. Really, I can recommend authors to get you started. I mean, obviously the Kindig books, George Shumway books, really fantastic original documentation referenced in those books. From there, in contemporary age, you have Mel Hankla and Jeff Yeager producing some wonderful books about following contemporary collecting and contemporary looking at some of these original pieces. Kind of the next step, I would say, in muzzleloading literature as far as generations go. How much powder do you usually prime the pan with? I usually shoot for less than half of the pan full of 4F black powder. It really depends on your lock and your muzzleloader. But if I can get by with just barely any in there, that's what I'm gonna go for. You'll see some people, you know, shoot for less than 2/3. It's really up to you and what your rifle likes. I will say the meat eater episode where they fill up the pan kind of drives me nuts, but that's okay. Getting some exposure to muzzleloaders, which is good. But really, I think try to put as little as possible in there to have your flintlocks still go off and go from there. Are volley fire flintlocks worth the extra effort? Maybe in the 1800s where you didn't have repeating arms and the ability to have a few more shots on hand. Quickly would be valuable, but to me, the reloading time I don't think would be very economic. Today, certainly not. I would much rather just have a single barrel muzzleloader. If I need to just shoot more and quickly, I would go for, revolver or, something modern. Would you use a machine cut agate flint or just throw the stick at a target? I'm fortunate that I've always had access to nice flints. I understand that there are folks out there that all they have access to is that machine cut agate. So if that's what you have, I hope that you use that in your muzzleloader, and I hope that it works well for you. But from my experience and the experience I've seen from folks here online and around the world, you're going to be a little bit better off if you're able to get a flint. Now, if I had to choose between using agate and throwing a stick at the target, I'm going to use that agate, man. I'm going to take that shot. It's going to be more accurate than my stick throwing would be. I think I saved a pretty good question here for last. This is the kind of question that helps campfire conversations go on for a few hours when you're out there with some buddies. Assuming you lived where you currently live, circa 1800, what is your everyday carry? I'm really blessed here because I have a family original rifle from that era, from the area that I live in. It's marked. I'll put a picture on the screen here. It's actually marked for a couple counties north of where my family currently lives, and we have journals and documentation going back following those family moves. So I'm very blessed to be able to know, kind of, at least as far as the rifle goes, what somebody in my area was carrying in the 1800s. I'm working on doing some more research about it. It is a pretty small caliber here. I think probably a 40 or 45, and it's got a nice curly stock. The hardware is pretty beat up, and it has a back action lock, but it is still a full stock percussion rifle, which is pretty neat. If I had enough money at that time, I'd probably add a pouch carrying all of my possibles for it and a pistol to go with it. Odds are the possibles bag or the shooting pouch would have been standard with the rifle, but I think the addition of a pistol would be nice to have, at least for maneuverability. But it was a different time, and I haven't done a whole lot of research as to what living in this area was like, so maybe that's something for a future project. That's all I have for you today. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. I'd like to thank the question askers. Like I said, if you have any questions or want to contribute to some of these question answering videos, feel free to leave them in the comments, shoot me an email, or participate over on Instagram. We have a lot of fun there answering and talking about muzzleloaders. It's really, I think, a more interactive platform than YouTube can be at times. So if you're not on there, check it out. A lot of great, interesting people over there doing a lot of neat things with muzzleloaders. Once again, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.